Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. This will be a recap of TDI Week 2, as well as we had recruiters from Covenant and Werner come in this week. So I will cover those two companies and what they offer. Okay, so to start Week 2, Monday, that was my group's first day in the yard. Doing yard maneuvers. Pretty much all we did was straight line backing all day. Not real complicated. And we didn't have to, but I took it upon myself to try to work ahead a little bit. One of the testing yard maneuvers is to pull the truck up and stop it with the front bumper inside of a 3-foot box. Now, the key to this one is, if you stop the truck before that box and you're not in there, you can't start again and roll up and get in. It has to be one stop with the bumper in the box. So that's how you pass that one. And when it comes to yard training, one thing I go by, and this would be a good tip for anyone that's going to CDL school, use landmarks. What I did, as I'm rolling up to the box, I put my back straight back in the seat so I'm sitting completely upright. And the cone that is in the front left of the box, once that cone disappeared in the pillar of the truck, dead stop. Using that method, you stop bumper dead center every single time, as long as the cone is where it's supposed to be. I'll go into more detail on using the landmarks for the other maneuvers, because that stuff works too. That covered the yard. Okay, Monday was also my first day driving a 10-speed manual on the road. I've driven manual transmissions pretty much my entire driving history, but let me tell you, and you'll hear this everywhere else too, driving a semi-manual is completely different than driving a manual speed car. Let me explain why. In your cars and trucks and Jeeps, whatever, manual, your transmission is synchronized. What that means is you have the gear, and then you have a brass, it's called synchronizer, that when the shift fork engages the gear, that synchro goes in and then matches the gear to match the road speed with the gear speed. Now that's important because you don't have to double clutch. Push the clutch in, shift it into the gear you want, let the clutch out, you're good to go. That is not how a semi works. Semis do not have synchronizers, so you have to double clutch. And what that is, you depress the clutch a little bit, shift out of gear, let the clutch out, push it back in, push the clutch back in again, and then go into gear. That's effective double clutching. Now, you can double clutch through all 10 gears and be fine, but if you have to downshift, you have to do what's called rev matching. In your lower gears 1 through 5, you have to rev to about 800 to 1,000 RPMs if you're downshifting in gears 1 through 5. Now 6 through 10, your high gears, those are a little bit different. You have to rev up to 1,500 RPMs and then clutch into the gear you're trying to go into. Now, I did some research on this before I drove, and come to realize that semi-truck speedometers are set up for manuals. The speedometer starts at 5 miles per hour, then goes to 15, then 25, 35, 45, 55, 65. They do that pretty much for manual drivers because it's really easy to identify what gear you should be in. All you do is add the numbers together. At 15 miles an hour, you should be in 6th gear. 25, you should be in 7th, 35, 8th, 45, 9th, 55, 10th. Now, where that's important when it comes to downshifting, say, and I'm actually going to talk about this scenario later on in the week, say you're on an interstate and you're doing 65 miles an hour and you have an exit ramp coming up and you want to slow the vehicle down. You would slow the vehicle down to 45 miles an hour, assuming you're in 10th gear now. Slow the vehicle down to 45 miles an hour, clutch out into neutral, rev to 1500, clutch in, and then go to 9th. Get down to 35 miles an hour, same thing. Clutch out into neutral, rev to 1500, clutch back into 8th, and that's 7, 6, 5, all the way down. So, driving a manual speed semi-truck, you have to have really good hand-foot coordination. If you don't, it's going to be hard, and I recommend going automatic. You'll have the automatic restriction only on your CDL, but, if you're not very coordinated, I wouldn't recommend driving a manual. But Monday, I get progressively better with the manual throughout the week, but Monday was a shit show. We're graded on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being bad, 5 being good. Everyone in the truck, a group of 4, we all got 1s because we were grinding gears, missing gears, stalling, pulling out from a stop. I felt bad for the truck that day. It was probably screaming by the time we were done. So, yeah, Monday's drive wasn't very good at all. At least for me and everyone else in the truck, really. So, moving on to Tuesday, more straight line backing. Jack did an offset backing demo, and we started practicing doing the offset. That, for me, pretty easy. Again, I came into the school with a good amount of yard experience. So the yard maneuvers, for me, thank God I have awesome managers. I've mentioned this before. I just got a text from my boss, and she wants me in the yard from 02 in the morning to 3 in the afternoon tonight when I go into work. So, getting a lot more practice. Tuesday, Covenant Trucking came in for lunch today to recruit, and the company sounds good. They primarily do your safer hazmat loads, like no weapons, no dangerous chemicals, pretty much all the hazmat that has to be placarded, but like if the truck got in a wreck, it wouldn't be a huge ecological disaster. The company sounds good, except there's one important caveat that I am strongly against. If you want to go with Covenant, you have to team drive for 3 months before they'll let you go solo. I don't want to team drive. I already have to go through 3 months of driving on a trainer's truck. I'm fine with that because I have to do it in order to get into my own truck for Melton. And I'll go into Melton more because all that's good to go now. With team driving, it's really hard to find someone with a similar personality. And you think about it, you're sharing a small box living space with someone. You better make damn sure you have the same hygiene standards, you agree on driving times. The other driver's good, so when you're sleeping, you're not getting, tossed around the sleeper cab because they're driving like an asshole. But yeah, team driving is not for me. Covenant does sound like a good company if you're down with teams. Like, we have one guy in my class, his wife has been driving for, I believe, 4 or 5 years now, and he's just getting his CDL now. Once he gets done his training, he'll be teaming with his wife. And depending how you think about that, that could be good or bad. That's up to you to decide. But, yeah, so, again, team driving, not for me. Okay. Road driving on Tuesday. I was better with the clutch on Tuesday. I'll light a cigarette here. When it came shifting into higher gears, 6 through 10, I was fine. I was still struggling on the lower gears, 1 through 5. And been before I go further, let me explain how a semi-truck works in case you don't know. On the gear shift knob, like say your hand's right here, right about here, there's a toggle switch. When that toggle switch is down, semi-trucks essentially have two transmissions, a low-speed transmission and a high-speed transmission. When that toggle switch is down, you're controlling gears 1 through 5. When it's flipped up, now you're in gears 6 through 10. So, there was something that helped me out. I'll get into that for Wednesday. It was explained to me by one of the instructors, and I also watched a few videos, showing this method. But yeah, the rest of Tuesday, it wasn't too horrible, but it wasn't that great. I think I scored like a 2.5 out of 5. So, again, progress though. That's the important part. Okay, so that covers Tuesday. Wednesday, we did our straight line backing test. Everyone had to test out for the yard maneuvers for that one, and again, that was pretty easy. And Jake actually went over more training for the offset parking, because some people were struggling for that, because offset parking, you have to jack the truck a little bit and straighten it out and then bring it back. And again, if you've never been in a truck before moving a trailer, it takes a bit to pick that up. Again, luckily with my experience, I don't have any issues with that. Road driving. Okay, here is where I found out the key to pulling out from a stop with a semi-truck. I've discovered, for me, it works for me and it works in the truck I'm driving right now. Is every truck like this? I don't know. I'll find out when I drive the manual test truck, because the manual test truck is a day cab. It's not a condo cab. What I found works for me, I do not touch the gas pedal until I get to 5th gear. And what that means, we don't use 1st or 2nd gear on the road, so we always pull out in 3rd gear. What works for me, I clutch out until the truck starts rolling, and then I clutch out, clutch into 4th, start rolling, clutch out, clutch into 5th, start rolling. Now I'll hit the gas, I'll flip the switch up to get into 6th gear. When I hit 1500 RPMs, boom, come over to 6th. Perfectly smooth every time. No gear grinding, no hard shifts. It's what worked for me. That right there was the key for pulling out for a stop that works. I tried to explain it to a couple other students. They don't want to listen. They're still grinding lower gears. Hey, what can I say? I tried to warn them. Okay, that's Wednesday. Now Thursday. Thursday, I got pulled for a random DOT drug test. They did warn us, day one of week 1 in the classroom, that you can be pulled for random at any time. And Rex, the guy that administers the urinalysis, he actually shows you that you were selected by random, so it's not targeted drug test, but they can still do a drug test if you show signs of being messed up. So I had to do that. While everyone else was still working on the offset, Jake let me go over and try doing the parallel park. And what I'll do to explain the yard maneuvers better, one of the resources I was using for pre-trip, and studying and everything, TDI doesn't really have, or I haven't found, training videos that you can view before you go to the school. There's this guy Jeff. I think he's the owner of Apex CDL School. They're somewhere in Kansas. I will link his video on the new backing maneuvers. I'll put that in the description. It's about a 20-minute video, but it goes through what we actually have to do now in order to pass the yard maneuvers. So everything I explained, if you want to view that video, have at it so you can get a good visual reference. So while everyone else was practicing the offsets, I was over doing a parallel park, and I did it just for my knowledge. The first time I did it, I don't know how I got it in the first time. No get out and looks, no pull-ups. I'm like, oh, this is easy. Yeah, I got lucky the first time. I pulled up, set up, and did it again. Screwed it up. That's when I went over to Jack. I'm like, hey, you know, what are the steps to do this that the school teaches? And he ran me through like the proper tire placement to start your turn, proper tire placement to start your turn to go into the space. You know, once he explained it, boom, I was getting it every time. So I got that down. That was pretty fun. Jake, the yard instructor, really cool guy. You know, if you're having an issue, he has no problem, you know, running you through how to do it again. He talks to you like an adult. He respects you. Mad respect for him. Let's see. I tested out of offset parking later in the morning. I did that perfectly fine. No get out looks, no pull-ups that I can remember. Yeah, I aced that one. Okay. The company Werner came in during lunch on Thursday to try and recruit. And again, Werner sounds like a good company, but it's the same as Covenant. You have to team drive for a period between 3 and 6 months before they will let you go solo. The recruiter was honest though. They are not letting anyone go solo right now. If you've been following the truck industry for any amount of time, you know, freight is kind of down right now. I don't want to get into politics, but yeah, that's the reason why, in my opinion. So if you're going with Werner, you're going to be a team driver pretty much until the freight market comes up and sort of stabilizes. So that's yet another company that I won't consider. And like, you can't even get experience, get a year or two of experience, and then go to them and try and go solo. They won't accept that either. I did ask that question. So that's another no-go. Still going to Melton. Okay, road on Thursday. Jack, our road instructor, he took us out on the I-4. So it was first time driving a semi on the interstate. Let me see what if I remember. I was on the interstate for about 8 miles. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that on Wednesday out in the yard, I still needed to refine my downshifting skills, because not really grinding, but I was getting a lot of hard shifts because I was either not at the proper RPM or not at the proper road speed. Now for Thursday, I shocked myself with downshifting. I was able to keep the rhythm, like I said earlier, you know, clutch into neutral, rev, clutch into gear you're trying to go into. When I was coming off the interstate, I was doing about 60 miles an hour, and I was able to successfully and safely, without jerking the crap out of the truck, downshift from 10 down to 9, down to 8, down to 7, and down to 6 before I even entered the apex of the exit ramp. I was screaming like a little girl inside because it finally clicked. Everything went fine. And the exit ramp was a right-hand sweeping decline exit ramp. So when I came down in the light, I was still at like a small decline. We're in Florida here, so it's not dramatic. And I asked the instructor ahead of time, like, hey, since I'm on a decline, should I start in 4th? And he's like, yeah, you can do that. So started in 4th, went to 5th, fine. He was happy I realized that. And that about covers the road for Thursday. Now Friday, which is yesterday now. When we started the morning, I went through the complete yard maneuvers, again, which is going to be in that video I'm linking in the description for the training. I did complete yard maneuvers probably about 10 times, and did the bumper stop fine. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention for the parallel park, Once you're in the slot, you have to back up, and you can stop a couple times. It doesn't have to be a dead stop like the front bumper is, but you have to put the rear bumper in that same box, same size box that you put the front bumper in. And on the test, you're allowed 2 free pull-ups and 2 get out and looks before you start getting points for them. Hopefully, you would get to that point, and you would still have your 2 get outs. Back up, get close, get out, see you're at. If you're short a couple feet, back up a couple feet, and you're fine. Now, here's where that landmark thing comes in. For the rear bumper test. Oh, damn, I went out. Anyway, for the rear bumper test, the way the box is designed, it's a solid yellow line except for the spot where you drive the truck out in order to set up for the parallel park. You're allowed to cross that barrier. Well, those long painted spotted white lines, I discovered if I put my tractor tire, because these are single axle tractor day cabs, if I put that rear tire right in line with the second white line, boom, bumper is dead center of the box every time. Again, I told all my classmates that, try to help them. I checked with the instructor first. Like, hey, can I give them some tips? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. So I told the rest of the class about that. I'm hoping they're using it because, like I said, it's an easy way to pass the yard test. Okay, let me see here. Yeah, Jake actually, he's letting us, like, the whole class work ahead. We were all getting the parallel park down pretty good because, it's pretty much, it's the same thing as an offset park. It's, almost identical. But he set up the parallel park on the test. You're doing, let me think about this right. It's sight side parallel parking. We also get tested on blind side parallel parking in the yard, but we do not get tested on it for the actual state exam. Yeah, it's just extra practice. He normally wouldn't set that up until week 3 for week 2 students. He already had it set up yesterday, so I guess the whole class is kind of working ahead, which means the yard next week is probably going to be boring, at least for me and probably one other guy who's doing really well in the yard as well. And the other 2 are doing good, but we're all going to be fine when it comes test day. Road for Friday. Oh my god, I had a stupid brain fart. Okay, so I explained the gear flip switch on the shift handle. My whole hour-and-a-half drive on Friday was really good. I had a couple small grinds, but it wasn't too bad. I even asked him, would that be a point on the test? He's like, probably not. So, good there. Except for this one instance. I was coming up to a red light, and I was... What gear was I in? I was in 8th gear, which is in the center. Now, 8th gear and 3rd gear share the same location. So I'm coming up to the stop, and it had just turned red, so I had no chance of, moving quickly. So I came to the stop, I clutched out, and forgot to flip the switch down to go to 3rd gear. Oh, and of course I didn't notice it. So light turns green, I go to take off, and trucks jumping, stall out. And Jack's funny. He's dead set looking straight. He just looks over and goes, flip. I'm like, oh man, I felt about this big. Driving real good all day, and I make a stupid mistake like that. But the way he did that, it was just so funny. But yeah, that's just about it for week 2 on the range and road for TDI. just to give you a little bit of insight on, you know, how our class was operating. Now, to give you an update for Melton, I got my final approval. I'm good to go. As it stands right now, I've already done a quote for a rental car because I don't want to take the Z to Oklahoma. So I got that done. As of right now, the date today is May 4th. My recruiter, Casey, she told me that on the 15th, or around the 15th, I will get an email with 2 barcodes. I have to do a urinalysis test and a hair follicle. Hey, sorry about that. My GoPro stopped recording for some reason. So to continue, I had to do a urinalysis and hair follicle test, and they're gonna send me somewhere local to me because that has to be done before my orientation actually gets scheduled. I'm currently tentatively scheduled for the 27th, so I got to be in Tulsa, Oklahoma by the 27th, and that's where I'm at right now with Melton. I already got my hard hat ordered. That should be here tomorrow. I'm actually getting the same hard hat that I had when I was in the Army. It's kind of cool. It's the ACU digital pattern. But my plan is to drive out there, and I'm going to keep the rental car for the entire orientation so I have my own transportation. I don't want to rely on Melton because they said they have one Melton car. And, you know, if there's, 5-10 people in the orientation, 10 people fighting over one car, I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to spend the money and get my own rental car. And then I figure I'll turn that in probably the day before orientation, because when orientation is done and I pass everything, then I'll be assigned my my road trainer. I'll be assigned to his truck. So I'll have the rental car turned in by that point, and it'll all be good. I get reimbursed a little bit through Melton for the rental car. They reimburse me up to the cost of what it would cost to get a bus ticket, which for me would be from Fort Pierce to Tulsa. And they said they quote that number on the week of travel. I did an estimate, and it's about somewhere between like $220 and $260 for a Greyhound ticket from Florida to Oklahoma, which it's actually not that bad because I was quoted somewhere in the range of like $400 to $450 for the rental car. So I'll get about half that back. Not a big deal. I won't get that back until after I'm done with the 3-week road training, though. They want to make sure I'm fully capable of being a driver before they reimburse anything. But yeah, that's about it. That'll sum up this video. Thank you for watching. If you found this, informative, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell so you get notified when I drop new content. That'll help me out immensely. I'm a small channel now, but I'm trying to grow and get bigger. But again, I hope you found this video, informative, and I will see you next time. Later.